permitted to stand part of the question, and I call the member for New England.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, and it's great to be here as to talk on an issue which is so close to my heart, which is obviously the Export Control Amendment Act, and also to talk about the live cattle, live sheep trade. As everybody well knows, it is I remember at the time, Mr Deputy Speaker, when there was the ban brought about by the Labor Party on the live cattle. And as the Shadow Minister for Water, of all things, I went out and did a press conference. And I said, this is ridiculous. It's going to absolutely bite us on the backside, and we've got to get out of this position as quickly as possible. This will be disastrous for the industry. To be frank and to be honest, when the first call I got was from Tony Abbott, and he wasn't happy with me. Nonetheless, the greater wisdom that resides within the coalition and the Liberal Party said, well, no, we're actually on the right path. We've got to stand by this. We've got to make the hard decision to bring a logical outcome for something which is one of the most vital industries for Northern Australia. Mr Deputy Speaker, when you go to an area which, like Broome, which once upon a time, you could buy a place for nothing, and if you mustered the cattle, you'd probably pay for it. Now you can go up there and it's professional. You can see every beast that goes on, $1,500, and also it goes beyond that. I went up there and I was talking to people at the pound at Broome, and the Indigenous families, Aboriginal families, we call them Aboriginal, the Aboriginal families because they want to be called Aboriginal, the Aboriginal families that are working. Sorry? Wide-ranging. I thought you said wide-hating.
The member for New England won't be distracted by the interjections. Yeah, the interjections will cease.
So these also give so much opportunity. So much opportunity. I remember talking to another senior Aboriginal person up in the Cape. And he said, "We, for the first time, have got on our feet. We're actually making a serious dollar. We're actually making money." And then for once in our lives, when we're getting ahead, you shut us down. It was wrong. Okay, I'd like to also now commend the Labor Party that they've seen around that corner, and that's important. But the next step is the live sheep trade. We can't close the live sheep trade down. It's the same thing. It's just exactly the same thing. You can't just arbitrarily go and decide to shut down sections of regional Australia because you have some sort of philosophical problem with them. It is the issues with the live sheep trade are just another permeation and combination of what you wish to do with the live cattle trade, and then it'll go to the transport industry and other industries as well. And we just can't do that. Our greatest advantage in Australia is in agriculture. That is where we can really get ahead. And it's not just farmers on farms. It's all the people associated with it in the myriad of industries, from computer programmers to biomathematicians to vets to the mechanics to everything that goes with it, the construction and development of abattoirs, all this. But you need an industry that is making money across every section of it. There's always going to be a place for processed beef, processed lamb, processed mutton. And there's always going to be a place for the live cattle, live sheep trade. They work hand in glove. And if you try to force an industry to go in a certain direction that it can't go, then it's clumsy and it doesn't work. AO Company, and God bless their cotton socks, spent a huge amount of money building an abattoir in the north, and it fell over. It just didn't work. And it's been the case for so many times, but people have always thought the great opportunity for an abattoir in the north is going to work. It doesn't work. You can't get consistency of supply, and you can't get the finished product in the form that's required to make it stack up financially. And they just put them into mothballs. So you need the live cattle, live sheep trade. And I remember once with the live sheep trade, you'd get $3 for wethers, maybe. Once it was called broken mouth, cast for age. You'd bring them in, $3, $2. They basically give them away. The price of their skins was what they were worth. Now, $100, $120, $80, this is real money. And what that's doing is bringing people back onto the farm, bringing farm workers back, giving you the capacity to pay a wage to someone that you mightn't have had the capacity to pay before, and actually allowing people on the land to go away and have to do the things that other people do, to make some money so they can renovate their kitchen and buy a new car, not a second-hand car, and to go on holidays. I mean, you say, well, it's glib. It's not. It's the reality. People, that's the sort of quality of life that people want, and now they're getting it. So this export control amendment is vitally important in making sure that we continue on, and I hope that if this is possibly an election year, that we will see policy, and it's great to see the new shadow Minister for Agriculture here. Congratulations, an incredibly important portfolio. I hope that we see the structure of an agricultural policy that you can actually go out into the country and give us curry about. Really, so people go, oh, I don't know, Labor Party policy probably, it's a good policy. It's worthwhile considering. I actually want that. I actually want the Shadow Minister for Agriculture to be asking us umpteen questions about agriculture, to be absolutely strident and absolutely acerbic across the details, because that makes agriculture in our nation better. Better. It makes it better. Yeah, but we don't want just a free ride in the park. We want to make sure we have a real debate. And I want to see the Labor members from regional areas asking the hard questions on agriculture, because that is good for our nation. So often, agriculture and this thing, for us, it's just seen as a free kick. It's like you're never going to get a question on it. They don't really care about it. And when you do hear from them, it'll be more driven from the philosophical views of an inner urban electorate than from the views of regional Australia. And maybe the new Shadow Minister will turn that around, and I hope that she does. I hope that she does. And I wish her many, many, many questions in question time. I wish her many, many questions in question time. But if we go back to what we're actually doing, we're investing about $330 million in agricultural export systems to modernise Australia's trading environment and lead a strong economic recovery. About 222 of these is just to transform our export systems, including contributing to a single digital one-stop shop fast-tracking goods for international markets. Working in international markets, there's got to be that capacity to work quickly, to be able to deliver to your destination without excessive bureaucracy, and that's both on our side and their side. What we have to do in Australia is make sure also that we build up our trading relationships with our old customers, but our good customers. In the Middle East, if you're in agriculture, you're going to learn a lot about the Middle East. If you're in agriculture, you're going to learn about Saudi Arabia, you're going to learn about Kuwait and Bahrain and Jordan, because that's where a lot of our product goes. And you're going to see how importantly they feel we are in their lives. And so this is going to be important in dealing with that. We need to make sure these markets are strong, because China is an incredibly important market for us, so vitally important, but we've got to have a contingency plan in case things don't go as well as we might wish they would. And within that contingency plan, of course, goes back to other solid markets such as Indonesia. Indonesia, as we know, we supply so much of the protein content for the sustenance of especially people in Jakarta, and they rely, like you got backside balls, which is like the it's like the meatball in their standard dish, and we supply the meat. And of course, when the live cattle trade shut down, the meat went, and they were not happy. In fact, there were some suggestions that they replace some of it. I mean, it's a Muslim country; they replace some of it with pork. We created a really bad name for ourselves when we did that. We're going to make sure we don't do that again. Like people, not consciously produced with pork, but people were ripping them off by creating substitutes that were going into that marketplace. So we have got to be the strong, diligent supplier and reliable supplier of protein into these markets. And so pieces of legislation like this bill is, it's not going to get the ratings tonight. They're not going to be playing it, but it's vitally important for the job we need to do. Australia, with by reason of COVID and the financial liabilities we now have before us, is going to need to make every post a winner to try and make this economy hum in such a way as we can start getting on top of the debt. And it won't matter who's in power, whether it's us or the Labor Party, you're going to have to target towards balancing the books, because that means you're repaying the debt. Therefore, every opportunity you get to make a buck, you've got to take it, and you've got to grab it with both hands and run as hard as you can. And agriculture is one of the areas you're going to do it. So what we've got to remove out of agriculture is some of this sort of nonsensical sort of value sort of inept value statements, that things that, there are moral crops and immoral crops, so that somehow cotton is an immoral crop. Ridiculous. It's a crop that makes money. If they made money out of asparagus, they'd grow asparagus. That somehow there's something wrong with rice is ridiculous. That we're going to somehow moralise ourselves out of the live sheep, live cattle game. Ridiculous. You can't do that. You've got to make a dollar wherever you can find it and run as hard as you can to do it. If we do that, one of the interesting things we might be able to create in our nation, and this should be a goal of all of us, is, I'm trying to help you out with some ideas. We should have a massive internationally based agricultural company. We don't have one. You got BHP, which is one of your big miners. You even got Atlassian, which is not bad. Obviously in the software area. You got a country such as the United States that has Apple and Google. Apple's about the size of about $2 trillion. In historical terms, it's not even nearly as big as things as such as the Dutch East India Company, which was in today's term about $8 trillion, has its own army. But we don't in Australia, and this is odd, we don't have a massive agricultural player like JBS from Brazil or ConAgra from the United States. We should have one. We should have one, and we should be working out how but this is for you, Shadow Minister, to take up. But this is where you challenge us in question time, where you come forward and say, well, how are you going to do it? You create the debate. You create the debate and make us sweat. But if it would be a shame if this is an election year for us not to have a strong debate on agriculture, and we want it as much as you, especially myself and the member for Boothby, because we come from agricultural families and we want to make sure that this is right at the front. And I can see the member for Wright there, you've still got yourself a little block, haven't you? Yeah, there you go. And so these are important. So this export control amendment measures bill gives us capacity to also talk about agriculture in general, to talk about how important the live cattle, live sheep trade is, to talk about how important making sure we streamline our export opportunities are, to show that the government has fair income about this with substantial investment in this space, to challenge the Labor Party with the best intentions at heart that we should have in this chamber serious debate about agriculture and what the next step is, to lay down some sort of ideas of what we could make our policy objectives, and to see that one of the ways you could judge that is in such things as making sure that Australia is the seedbed of a major international agricultural company like other nations have, even New Zealand. God bless their cotton socks, they've got Fonterra. A major player. And I know the good members from Tasmania. The good members from Tasmania would all understand all about that and how that works, because they're a big player, obviously, in Australian agriculture, especially in the dairy game. But but Guns wasn't quite big enough, mate. It wasn't a big player, and not in the multiple $100 billion space where they've got to be. And maybe in the future, as we go forward in this year of the Parliament, we can see that debate And it'll be something that if we have that debate in that section, you're going to get an awful lot of interest from regional people, and they're going to tune into question time in a way that's probably a lot more engaging than they have done in the past.
I thank the honourable member for